Hello, my dear learners. My dear learners, let's finish to autumn. Let's look at the last stanza of the poem and understand this very particular stanza line by line. So now let's begin this session without any further ado, my dear students. Where are the songs of spring I? Where are they? So see here the last stanza of the poem begins with a kind of a regret or with a kind of something the speaker is missing. And what does the speaker of the poem here actually miss? Or what is the speaker of the poem here missing? Actually, he is missing the song of the spring, my dear learners. Actually, you know that spring is that just a season in which we hear lots of you see this songs, particularly of the birds like nightingale, like cuckoo, like skylark, this bird or that bird. But unfortunately these songs, or yes, these songs we find it missing actually in the autumn season. And that's why here the speaker of the poem is somehow missing these songs, and actually he wants to listen to the song of these birds. And that's why he begins the last stanza with this line, where are the songs of the spring? It means somehow he misses, somehow he wants to say that autumn does not have its own music. Autumn does not have its own song, and that's why we can say that to some extent the speaker of the poem is not happy. Why? Because he repeats the question twice. He begins this stanza, last stanza, with this kind of a rhetorical question. See this, he repeats, where are they? See, where are the song of the spring I? Where are they? It means he emphasizes on this very particular thing. That's why he puts up the question not once but twice. What? Where are the songs of the spring? But very soon he becomes absolutely positive. He becomes absolutely positive in the second line of this stanza, and he gives valid reason that autumn has its own song, autumn has its own music, autumn has its own melody, and one cannot belittle what? Autumn on this very particular ground, that autumn does not have its own song, or autumn is not rich when it comes to sweet songs of the birds. Why? Because it has its own song. And now let's look at those noises or those sounds, or you can say those cries actually we hear in the autumn season. See, how does he complement, or how does he equate, or how does he prove that this season is not less in importance in comparison with the spring? Why? Because if spring is rich in the song of the birds, this season is also rich in the songs and the musics of different kind of insects, different kind of, you see, animals like sheep, so on and so forth. So now let's look at the third and the next lines of the poem. He says, see what? Think not of them. So he says, you autumn. See, the words are straightway addressed to autumn, and here the poet wants to say Here the poet wants to, you say, comfort or console the autumn. That autumn must not be sad if it does not have that kind of quality of song or the music spring has, but it has its own music and song. He says, thou hast thy music too. Why? Because he says, you just don't need to feel low in spirit, thinking that you do not have your own sound, you do not have your own music, you do not have your own varied songs or varied music. Why? Because you have your own music. While bad means actually clouds just having the bars or having the, you can say, stripes. Barred means stripes or just bars, clouds, bloom means, you can say this, give a very different kind of, bloom means just give a kind of a glow, or add a kind of a glow. Blow means to add glow, the soft dying day. So see here, dying day. Here see, just from the first stanza to the last stanza, you can bear one thing in your own mind, or you must have noticed one thing in your own mind, that how has the poet been continually using certain things that on one hand spoke volume, that on one hand actually speak volume about the life, about the celebration, and about the glow and beauty of the autumn. On the other hand, the just autumn speaks a lot about that approaching death that will put an end or punctuate a full stop to one and all, particularly through different things or through different happenings. Like here he says, what? The dying day means here the day is also going to die. And you see this, you must have noticed that when the day is just going to die, you must have seen the beauty, how beautiful the day looks just before the sunset, or when the yellow dim or the sweet soft light of the sinking sun or of the setting sun falls onto the earth and falls onto the different elements of the nature. How beautiful the earth, the elements of the nature look. But what happens? Very soon they get lost in the darkness of the night. And darkness, what does darkness? Just seals that very particular day, and that day dies. In the same manner, here the day is going to die. It means John Keats somewhere down the line must be feeling or must be just thinking about that approaching death. Why? Because he had horrible, just you can say this, horrible bouts of, you can say, that very particular disease, tuberculosis, which had slowly but surely had been eating him, just eating him day by day, day after day, minute after minute, moment after moment, month after month. So same thing here, somehow here just is crossing the mind of this very particular poet. So he says that while the barred clouds, why does he call the clouds actually barred clouds? Why? Because the sun rays are just sun rays are piercing the clouds, and by piercing the clouds, you can say that the sun rays are reaching the ground and falling onto them and adding a kind of a pink glow to that very particular field or to that very particular countryside, with the just a cornfield which which look absolutely just clear, or which look absolutely different or look beautiful with the rosy hue added to them or added to it by the sun, with their stubbles or with the stubble means stumps, or that remaining part of the plants of the grain, just everywhere you can say on the ground. Very soon what will happen, the winter will begin, and with the beginning of the winter will happen to the earth. The earth will, it seems that the earth is dead. Why? Because very soon with the beginning of the a winter, heavy snow will fall, and that heavy snow will cover everything just you can say, and thus that heavy snow will not allow even a single plant to grow out of the breast of the earth. And how does the earth will look like? As if it is dead. In the same manner, everything is just going to die, particularly all those things that have gained their maturity, or they have gained their complete development. Because what happens actually after gaining the complete maturity? Decay, destruction. What happens to those just ripe fruits? When the fruits become absolutely ripe, they become absolutely full of the flesh. What happens? It is time for them to drop down, and after dropping down, what happens? They start decaying. So same thing is here also echoing, my dear learners. See this. And so he says how how the rays of the sun getting just after filtering through the just cloud, the cloud that cover the sky, they are adding, or the sun is adding a kind of a pink glow to the plains with the stubble means that a small remaining part of the just corn plants look beautiful. You see this rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats moan. So see, he says what happens now. Here is going to talk about, see, in the first 4 lines he introduces the main theme or the main subject of the 3rd stanza, that is the song, the music of the autumn season. Now here is going to talk about that music, that sound, that song that is heard in the autumn season. And on the basis of that, autumn does not need to belittle itself. Why? Because it has music. See this. Then in a wailful means sad, choir means group. The small gnats, gnat means a kind of insect. G is not pronounced. Moan means sing in a very sad or in a sorrowful manner. Why? Because see, again here he has been using the word moan. He is using the word wailful. Why? Because these gnats, these insects are going to sing on the death of the day, means going to sing on the death of the autumn season. Because if autumn is going to die, which season is going to begin? That is winter, and it is winter that brings complete destruction. What happens? What happens to the trees and the plants? They lose all their leaves in the autumn season. All the flowers that bloom, what happen? They start wilting, wilting, wilting. withering or fading, and all this happens, all these happen in the winter season. Winter season causes havoc. It destroys almost everything, my dear learners. That same thing is here. He says, then what happened? Just as the sun adds pink glows to the plains, evening just start descending, the day just is about to die. These just insects, they start singing just as the band of the singers in the church ceremony actually sang on the death of the some person. In the same manner, these gnats will sing a sad song on the death of, you can say that on the death of the day. See this. And among the river, sallow means is a kind of a willow is a kind of a water plant, my dear learners. And he says, and among the river plants, borne aloft, borne means supported, aloft means up straight, or sinking means bending, or just swaying as the light wind lives or dies. So he says that definitely very soon those gnats in the just in the shallows or in the plants, in those water plants in the river, will sing a sad song on the death of the day. And those shallows, what will happen to them? They will go up, they will go down. All right, all because of the strength and weakness of the wind. If the wind goes strong, they will go up. The wind goes weak, they will go down. This kind of a thing will happen. And full grown lambs, and now he says full grown lambs. And what happens to the full grown lambs? Those lambs that become fully mature, they are overloaded with the flesh on their own body. They will just be slaughtered. If the lambs become absolutely what? Mature, absolutely full of flesh, what will begin? Their slaughtering will begin. So see, on one hand, John Keats is celebrating life in the autumn season. On the other hand, he says this is the season of the what? Loss of strength and stamina and power that leads to death in the winter season. So he says, and what happens to those full grown lambs? We can hear, he says, that full grown lambs just bleating could be heard coming from the hilly what? Hilly brooks, hilly rivers, or rivers of the hill. He says that in the autumn we can hear the bleat or the cries of the full grown lambs coming from the rivers or coming from the waterfall of the hills. And these full grown lambs are just, what do they stand for? What do they symbolize, or what do they signal? That they are ready to be butchered, they are ready to be slaughtered, just like the mallow fruits are just ready to fall. In the same manner, maybe John Keats to some extent could feel that impending death, and it was all because of that. He thought it better to accept it, embrace it with a broad smile on the face, instead of with a long face or with a lot of fear and horror on his own face. Why? Because he knew one thing for sure, that he was he had no way to escape it, or he had no way to dodge death. That's why here he is celebrating life, and at the same time, just at the same time, showing his preparedness, his showing his that he's showing that he's absolutely prepared for the death. See this. Hedge, cricket, sing. He says, apart from the just just a wailful cry of the gnats, just a bleat of the bleat of the full grown lambs, and the movement and the just movement to and fro movement of those sallows, one can hear the what chirping of the cricket, just chirping of the cricket. See this, hedge cricket, crickets, another insect, just the chirping or making their sharp, shrill, treble means shrill, soft. The just the cricket, he just talks about that, just a high pitch or very sharp, shrill chirping, or the just singing of the crickets in the hedges, means hedges, in the bushes, or just undergrowth, or the small plants grown everywhere, in the small plants grown everywhere. Crickets just hide themselves inside those plants, or just in those plants, and they chirp and sing as soon as the evening falls, means as soon as the day is just as soon as the day just is about to end, as soon as the evening falls, the crickets start chirping. And very soon what happens? See this, hedge cricket, and now the with the treble means shrill, soft, just the red breast, a name of a bird, whistle means sings, from a garden croft, means from an enclosed garden area, or from a particular just a particular piece of land, covered or enclosed or surrounded with the fence, or surrounded with the fence of boundary wall, and inside that lots of plants. And from that, what one can hear, one can hear the red breast singing in a very soft manner at its high pitch cry, or at their high pitch cry. So see how many, so many just noises, so many sounds one can hear in the autumn season. So how can one say that autumn does not have its own music? But what do all this music, or what do all these sounds stand for? Stand for that approaching death, stand for the dying of the day. If the day is going to die, you can better understand what will happen next. So he says, and the gathering swallows, another bird twitter in the skies, and now even one can hear the chirping, a lot of chirping of those swallow birds that are gathering together, or gathering in the large number, particularly in the sky. Particularly they are gathering in the sky with their chirp, and their chirp is actually just sending messages to all the birds to get together before the sunset or before the nightfall, so that they could fly to their safest, or to their safe places, to their homes. Why? Because the day is just going to die. So my dear learner, these are the sounds, these are the you see noises, and these are the varied These are the varied types or kinds of music which one can hear, which autumn has in the autumn season. So autumn does not need to belittle itself in comparison with the spring, but yes, spring has this, the music of the spring gives life, whereas the music of the autumn stands for that approaching death, means a kind of a mourning. Why? Because very soon what happens? Very soon this autumn will die, and with that the what will happen? One will have to be ready for the death. So actually, here in this very particular last stanza of the poem, the speaker of this very particular poem wants to give us a kind of insight about the true nature of the things of this very particular world, or he wants to tell us that those things that gain full maturity, what happens after getting full maturity? Decay, death, destruction. So if death or destruction is inevitable, if a mellow fruit has to fall, a flower, a fully bloomed flower has to what wilt, or a fully grown lamb has to be slaughtered, or a man with a lot of sufferings, or a man with an incurable disease has to die. Why to die with a long face? Better to die with a broad smile on the face. Why? Because if we cannot skip or we cannot escape something, we need to accept that very particular thing. So if we cannot escape death, better accept it. And if we accept it, maybe it is possible that we may die with a lot of peace, and we may not die with a lot of horror and terror in our own mind. So my dear learner, I hope this explanation of mine will help you understand this last stanza of the poem. Now let's look at the figures of speech used in this beautiful but the last stanza of the poem, that speaks volume, that uses lots of symbols, and all those symbols somehow this way or that way related to death. So see this first. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them. It means, see, the third stanza begins with the address to the autumn. The poet is actually asking the autumn not to feel sorry, not to feel sad, not to belittle itself if it does not have music like this spring. So the first two lines, if you see this, that the poet is, or the speaker of the poem is directly addressing his words to the autumn. It means apostrophe is used. Second, since the autumn is treated or personified as a living one, personification is used. So apart from, so see, in the first two lines we can say clearly that there is a use of personification, there is apostrophe. Now let's look at the some other just figures of speech. Where are the songs of spring? Ring the see, think not of them. So here see, think begins with what? T. Them begins with T. See, thou begins with T. So see, in this very particular poem, see, just thou, see, three, see, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this very particular second line of the third stanza, we have four words beginning with the T sound, beginning with the T or holding the T sound. It means alliteration is used. In this one, you see this alliteration is also used. While bud clouds bloom, the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with the rosy hue. So here what does he actually wants to say? That how the sunlights or how the rays of the sun are reaching the just plains with the stubble, with the stumps just through the clouds, and since the rays are coming to the ground, all right, filtering through the just clouds are working as the filter, and it's all because of that a very different or very pleasant or beautiful rosy color the sun rays add to the ground. So see the beauty, or see the just visual imagery, or see the sensuousness of the poet. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats moan. So see, moan stands for sound. All right. Wailful choir, the mournful gnats moan stands for a kind of a sound. So here when these just sound denoting words are used in the poem, which figure of speech is called, my dear learner? Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is used, Onomatopoeia. So onomatopoeia is used. Here you see this. Among the river swallows, river sallows, the river sallows borne aloft and sinking as the light when lives or dies. So see here, lives, dies, two words placed side by side opposite to each other, live and die, live and die. So if two opposite words placed side by side, which figure of speech, dear learners? Oxymoron. Oxymoron. Oxymoron is made of two words, oxy, sharp, moron, dull. So here two opposite words are set side by side or placed side by side. So oxymoron is used here. And full grown lamb, loud bleat. See again, bleat again, loud bleat again refers to a kind of a sound or the cry of this animal. It means again sound denoting words. So again, onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia again used. Hedge. Now see this, hedge. And so see here this, so here again this sound relating or just sound relating word is used. Bleat stands for the cry of the just lamb. So here again the bleat or sound denoting word is used. It means onomatopoeia again is used here. And see, hedge, cricket, sing, again onomatopoeia. And now with treble, a sharp, shrill, high pitch cry, again onomatopoeia. The red breast, whistle, again just a word just that denotes a kind of a sound from a garden croft. So, and the gathering swallows twitter again. So see, so many sound denoting words are used in the concluding just lines of the poem. Like here, see, bleat, then we have here travel, then we have here see Twitter, then we have here what? Whistle. So see the last, you can say that the last 4 lines of the poem are very rich in the use of what? Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is richly used or greatly used by the poet, particularly in the last 4 lines of the poem, to emphasize or to speak volume that no matter the sound or the cries or the noises of the autumn speak volume or actually stand for that approaching death, but autumn has its own music. Autumn has its own what? Song. That's it, my dear learners, in this video.